Hi everyone and welcome to the first video in our Ask a Pro series where we ask the professionals your questions and try to learn and understand the mindset of what it takes to play at the highest level. Now I'm absolutely delighted and honoured to be joined by one of my childhood heroes today, a man that has played nearly a decade in the Premier League and represented England with one cap. Matt Jarvis, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me on.
No worries. Thanks for giving us your time. We really appreciate it. So, what have you been up to, especially like during this whole period and crazy times we're living in right now?
Yeah, well, I say, funny enough, we recently moved into a house that was
Mhm.
we were renovating, so it's still not quite finished. So that's a bit of a nightmare. But we
Awesome.
also had me and my wife had a daughter a
Oh,
week
lovely.
before lockdown.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so I've got a 3.5-year-old boy and
Mhm.
a 14-week-old baby daughter now.
Oh,
So
excellent.
that's been keeping me very busy.
Congratulations on that. Yeah, it's great to hear. But
Thank
yeah,
you.
I'm sure they have keeping you busy. So yeah, as a professional footballer, what's it been like during lockdown and stuff? Keeping yourself busy, keeping fit, and stuff like that. What have you been
Yeah,
doing?
that's the hard part, I suppose. I mean, I say for me, like the last sort of year, I've been actually doing that already because
Mm.
I wasn't quite with the club, so I was trying to keep myself fit myself. So
Mhm.
it's difficult though because it's a mindset. It's trying to keep yourself motivated, trying to keep yourself like in the best possible shape you possibly can without football's very much you can do everything you possibly can. You can do as much
Mhm.
running, much spin bikes, but as soon as you then get out and actually have other people around you and
Mhm.
movements and someone spinning off you, it's just totally different. You can't replicate that when you're on your own.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I imagine you're a bit fed up of being in the gym and stuff all the time and not training as much as you usually do, and getting a ball out basically.
Yeah. I've been playing with my son, playing football with my
Mhm.
son, but yeah, I mean, he doesn't mind tackling me, but it's not quite the same.
A future England defender, possibly then.
We'll see. I'm not sure.
Right, so we'll talk through your career a little bit. For those that aren't hasn't haven't quite followed your career as closely as I have. Um, so we'll go back to when you was a teenager. You come from a sporting family as well. Your mum and dad were professional table tennis players. Um,
Yeah.
Growing up as a teenager, you was at Millwall. Um, Tell me about that time. Again, you got released at a young age. How did you come back from that and that disappointment at an early age?
Yeah. So yeah, I was at Millwall for about 7 years. As a kid, I had an older brother who was at Millwall as well.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, it was up until a certain point. It was amazing.
Mhm.
Just playing. I would play up an age group as well. So on a Saturday, you'd play up an age. If you didn't play as much, or you then played on the Sunday your own age, and it was great. And then it got to sort of the last sort of year and a half when you're trying to get that youth team contract, and it just at the time Millwall, I have to say, wasn't particularly a nice
Mhm.
sort of environment
Yeah.
at the
Mhm.
time. But I gave it everything, and my sort of confidence started to dip a little bit. And in the end, I got told I wasn't good enough, and got released. And as a it was 15, 16-year-old. It was very difficult to
Mhm.
take. I think at the time I was like questioning whether I try and carry on and do pro or
Mhm.
to sort of think I'll just play with my mates on a Sunday. But I was very fortunate in the straight away I got a call from the Gillingham
Mhm.
scout Bernie Dillon who was like, look, come straight in, we'd love to have you, blah, blah, blah. And I actually said no at the time, but
Well, thank goodness you didn't.
the following the following week I then was like, okay, so I went on trial and I was terrible. But luckily, they took a chance, and as soon as I signed, then just for me, everything just clicked into place. Confidence just shot through the
Mhm.
roof. Everything was great, and then I made my first team debut a year later.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we'll go on to that. You signed for my team, Gillingham, team I grew up literally next door to. So growing up watching you, you was one of the first Gillingham players I think that you know really made me fall in love with the game a little bit more at that age. So you made your first team debut in the Championship at 17. What was that like? Was that a nervous experience for you?
I think you're at that age, you're excited more than nervous. I think you know, I came on, I think we were 3-0 down against Sunderland. I think at home, it was only like half an hour left, but it was a night game. The whole atmosphere, it was just brilliant. And it was so nice to get on and to feel that, I suppose that pressure of just being, you know, in a first team environment, you know, where everything, it means so much to everyone and the fans, and it was a great learning curve, as they say.
Yeah, for sure. So you really pushed on. You went to become first team regular on that left wing. You made that spot your own in the team. From what I remember, I mean, I remember you just, you know, you was more or less a natural traditional winger. You just love to take on people. Back in them days, you used to love cutting inside, shooting for that top right corner all the time. So you spent 4 years with Gillingham. There's one game in particular I want to talk to you about that sticks in my memory. It was Port Vale in 2005.
Yeah.
That was the day I was convinced you'd play for England because they just couldn't handle you. You scored 2 brilliant worldie goals, identical goals, which I've spoken to you since on the couple of times I've met you since. But just talk to me about that game in particular.
Just, I think at the time, you know, when I'm enjoying my football, it's going well. You're so confident, and then when you start games and you just have a feel for it, and I was playing really well and enjoying myself, and I just remember that first one. I shifted left, shifted right, shifted left, and then the guy sort of nearly fell over, so I come inside and then just it went beautifully into the top corner, and then about 10 minutes later I did exactly the same thing.
Yeah, they didn't learn their lesson at all, did they?
But the first one goal of the season, and the second one came third.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're
exactly the same.
To happen in the same game as well. I mean, most people are quite happy if they get one of those goals in a season, let alone 2 in one game. But that was kind of your trademark at the time, cutting inside onto your stronger right foot. So you spent a good 4 years at Gills, made over, what have we got here? Over nearly 200 appearances in 4 years, possibly. And then you got a big move to Wolves in, 2007. Talk me through that and how that happened.
Yeah, my contract was up at Gillingham. I'd had a lot of interest from lots of higher league clubs, and then I got a call from my agent to say that McCarthy wanted me to meet me in Portugal. So I was like, right, okay. So I literally was just going to the airport to meet my mates to go to the airport to go on holiday with my mates, and I had to pull out and fly to Portugal instead to meet McCarthy. And had just sat down, had a lunch with him, and he talked to me about what he was building at Wolves and what, why, he would like me. And then obviously I was just speaking to him about different bits and pieces, and I came away from that meeting just like, I'm 100% signing for Wolves. He was such a, I have to say, probably probably the best manager I've worked under, just for personal professionalism and just complete honesty. I think that's the biggest compliment I could give him. Yeah,
I mean, he's well known for his experience in the game and his know-how. He definitely developed you as a player, along with Terry Connor as well. So like I said, your trademark back at Gillingham was cutting inside, but they also worked on your other areas of your game as well. Talk me through that, like more than just being a one-trick pony, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's it. I think that was the biggest thing. I was very fortunate that Mick McCarthy had an unbelievable coaching staff around him. So Terry Connor used to take me out before training all the time, work on my left foot crossing, work on my right foot crossing, working on cutting inside and shooting, working on going down the line. And then the fitness coach was a man called Tony Daly, who was an incredible winger, played for England, played for Wolves, played for Aston Villa. and he was my fitness coach, and my game was very similar to his, so he used to help me enormously, working on my speed, working on my power. So I had a really good combination of coaches and staff and managers that you were able to develop my game. And the better I got, and when we went into the Premier League, Mick McCarthy and got the England cap, Mick McCarthy was like, right, well, you now need to work harder, because you now need to have more strings to your bow, because teams are going to work out what they need to do to stop you, and you're going to have to develop your game. So it's always continuous learning, and I was very fortunate with the team that they had to help me through it.
Again, you was, like at Gills, you became a massive fan favourite there, of course. You at one point as well, just before your England cap, you was up there in the Premier League, I think, with the most productive players in terms of assists, goals, right up there with some of the top names in the Premier League at that time. So again, that led to your England call up. How did that happen? How did you hear about it? And talk me through your emotions when you got the call.
We played Aston Villa away for Wolves. It was an early kickoff on the Saturday. We won the game 1-0. I scored the volley. I remember I went home because it was an early kickoff, so I went back down south. Came back up on the Sunday because we had training on the Monday. Just got through to my front door, and me and my wife were in the kitchen, and I got a text on my phone from the FA. So I've been, called up to the England squad, and we was like, nah, this can't be right. And then literally I was like, just sort of coming around, and then I get a call, and it was from the FA. It's not a wind up. You've been selected to get called up. We're going to be announcing it on Sky Sports News in about 20 minutes. If you want to call anyone, blah blah blah, you'll need this, you'll need that. And I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
And then it was just trying to have an incredible feeling, and then trying to actually tell everyone that you would try to. But I couldn't get hold of my mum and dad. I called my brother, I called my wife's mum and dad, everything. But my mum and dad I couldn't get hold of. No, didn't pick up their mobiles, house phone, anything. Yeah. So I took a chance, and I called a local curry house that they used to live. Yeah. And funnily enough, they were in there. So I asked the owner to put them on, and I told them in there.
Excellent. So they were eating their chicken dansak, and you were telling them that you got called up for England. Excellent.
Yeah, and then when that the whole experience was just incredible. Arriving, meeting Capello, he was the manager at the time, and then the squad that was there was just fantastic. The names, the only one that wasn't there that would usually be there was Gerrard. Apart from that, you had Lampard, Rooney, Terry, Ashley Cole. The list goes on.
So many just big names.
Yeah. And it was brilliant. And then I was fortunate enough that I played in the game at Wembley in front of 85,000 fans, all my friends and family, everyone. I mean, there's so many Gills fans, Wolves fans, West Ham fans. They all go, I was there at that game, and it's just, I could have played anywhere in the world, but I was very lucky that mine was at Wembley. So I was absolutely thrilled.
As a Gills fan, that was a very proud moment for us as well. I think having like a player like yourself coming through with our team as a young player. Us as fans, we fell in love with you, watching you. And then to see you pull on the England shirt was just a massive, massive moment for all of us. So, but that must have been brilliant for you. And coming on Wembley, like you say, 85,000. Incredible.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I just remember warming up, and I was constantly running up and down in the second half, because I'm thinking, right, he's got to be making us up soon. He's got to be making it. And I'm constantly running up and down and just looking up at the side, waiting for something to happen. And then I remember getting that call, and then just being like sprinting back, and then just being, before coming on, trying to put on that face like I'm not nervous. I'm just like, I'm ready and like that, thinking everyone's going to be looking at me. So just trying to. I remember Jack Wilshere come off, so I done it. I come on, and I was just thinking, done it, absolutely amazing. And then you just then you switch on to you're just playing football then. But just then a few moments, you're just like, I've just done a dream come true. It's my childhood dream.
Honestly, every kid's dream, especially in England, just to play for your country at Wembley. Honestly, so that week away you spend with it, it's like a week's training camp, I guess. before the game.
Yeah, it was 10 days.
10 days you go away. So we had a European qualifier, is that right? And then the friendly against Ghana. Yep.
Yeah.
So what did you learn in those 10 days training with those, top players?
As far as learning off the players, they're it's their usual routines. You can just see in training their touch, their pass, their movement, their awareness, that sort of thing. And then it's just more like a bit of team bonding, I suppose. Because I say stuck. You're in a hotel. You can't go anywhere. So you're in a hotel. We played at the time. The weather was decent, so we played golf. There was a table tennis table there, but everyone sort of sits. You have to eat all at the same time. You have to leave all at the same time. You wait for everyone. That was Capello's sort of thing.
Yeah, it's quite regimented, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was what a good set of lads. Because I didn't really know. I played against them all, obviously, but I didn't really know them that well. So it was really good for me to to just experience it all as well, and to take everything in, even like a little bit of coaching, because it's not so much coaching, it's more of you only get a certain amount of time to put in how they want to play. Everyone knows how to play, but it's just their system. So it was just a really good learning experience.
That's brilliant. So we'll move on. Towards the end of your career with Wolves, stayed in the Premier League a few years. You got a few decent seasons, challenging mid-table, upper mid-table. Unfortunately, after their relegation, you then got a chance to get another big move back into the Premier League with West Ham. No small change in that deal either. They got quite a good deal out of it, Wolverhampton. Tell me about how that move came around.
Yeah, well, so did Gilles, actually.
Yeah, that's right.
I think they got promoted. Gilles got promoted off the back of that. But yeah, it was just, for me, it was just the right time. I'd done, I did well at Wolves personally myself. And I, that season and the following month when I went to West Ham, I'd put in the most crosses in Europe. I put in the most successful crosses, that landed on someone's head, not just, I put them as well in Europe both seasons. So I felt like I earned the right to get myself back into the Premier League. So, West Ham there was a couple of clubs, but West Ham were the ones that basically, in the end of the day, stumped up the money because, Wolves were holding out for a really big fee. So, in the end, it was sort of lucky that West Ham did get it over the line.
So you went there. Who was your manager at West Ham at the time?
Big Sam.
Big Sam Allardyce. Yeah. So for those that might not know, he's renowned for more or less direct football, sort of traditional English football, I guess you could say. Getting crosses into the box again. So, what did he want out of you as a player at West Ham, and what did he see in you?
Yeah, well, I think he straight away when he signed me, he was like, he was huge on statistics, so he knew that I'd put the most successful crosses in and most crosses in. So his first sort of things were like, well, guess who I'm bringing in for you? And it was Andy Carroll. It was like, and he had the most successful headers in the Premier League. So it was like a dream partnership. So it was like, get the ball to me out wide, get myself down the line, put a cross in, and Andy, you head it in. That was the way it was. We didn't play as many games as we would like together, but it was a dream partnership for sure.
Yeah. You had a few of them in your career, I think. Especially at Wolves, you had a lot of target men, good in the air. Always seemed to feed off you as a winger, getting good crosses in. So we'll skip forward a little bit. You had a really good career at West Ham. Again, 3 or 4 seasons being first choice regular in the team. Then you got to move to Norwich, but probably your hardest years in your career, would you say, with injuries and stuff?
By far. Hardest sort of years of my life, really. Really hard. It started so well. I was on fire, scored my debut, scored my second game. I was playing probably the best I'd played in a long time. Really enjoying my football. And then, it went from bad to worse with injuries, really, unfortunately. And I spent sort of 2.5 years really having 4 operations and not really enjoying myself, giving everything I possibly could to get myself back fit, but it just kept on going from bad to worse, unfortunately.
So what keeps you motivated in those dark times? You know, you're spending a lot of time in the gym on your own, not being able to train with any of your teammates. What keeps you going, and what's your light at the end of the tunnel during all of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was difficult. I think when I first got injured, it wasn't too bad because there was a couple of other players that were on long-term injuries as well. So you sort of, when you're in the gym, you're together, you bounce off each other to keep yourself motivated, and to keep yourself pushing along, because you're in the gym, and all the gyms, they face the training pitch. So you're constantly like,
it's always a constant
all
reminder.
I can see is all I can see is everyone else training, and I'm stuck in here. So it's like you work and work and work to try and get. But after a while, everyone seems to get back out on the training pitch, and then I'm getting myself another operation, and I'm like, it was very difficult. And I was sort of at the time, me and my wife had our first child, and that was a huge sort of I don't know, distraction, I suppose, for me. Distraction is probably the wrong word, but it was something that I could keep myself going, because I had a newborn son. It was an amazing experience, and to have a son and to keep yourself going. But at the same time, I was sort of living in Norwich on my own a fair bit, and that was difficult to miss out on him growing up a little bit, and then on top of that, still being injured and still, giving it absolutely everything every single day to get myself back fit, and then not quite happening is really difficult. Really difficult.
They're the kind of sacrifices, I guess, that a lot of fans don't really see or understand.
Yeah, I mean, I got loads of messages saying, "Oh, he's injured again. What's he doing?" But then no one actually saw my day-to-day routine. I would be in before anyone else. I'd leave after everyone else.
Yeah.
And if anyone wanted to do any of the sessions that I was doing, they would be more than welcome. I don't think they would last. But, unfortunately for me, it just, at that particular time, my body just wasn't allowing it. And that was not down to me. That was not down to anyone else, unfortunately. Well, I say that the scans didn't help, because they didn't show any of the things that actually happened, and that's why I required surgery. My medial, I played on for pretty much 8 months with my medial not attached, because the scans didn't show it. So I had to have my medial reattached. I then had to have a microfracture of my ankle, because on the scan it didn't show that the cartilage was literally just fallen off, but on the scan it looks that as soon as you moved it all fell off. So I carried on for 8 months with that. So if you look at things like that, it's demoralising to know that you could have been playing if these things were spotted, but you can't go against anything else, unfortunately.
There was eventually light at the end of the tunnel. You did get back to playing. A lot of players might not have come back from those sort of injuries, but again, you managed to come back. You went on loan to Walsall, and there was a really special moment, I think, during that loan spell where you came back to Gills and had a game for Walsall at Gills. Again, I think that's probably one of the first times, I think, if not the first time, you came back to Priestfield.
The first time, yeah.
As a player. So that was a great moment for us, and I guess for you as well. And obviously,
it wasn't quite for you, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we wouldn't begrudge you anything, an assist or anything like that. So you showed what we were missing all them years. Stood on a perfect cross up to the back post. Andy Cook headed it in. And then just up until recently, you got a deal with Woking, and then unfortunately all this happened. But you started the ground running there as well.
Yeah, well, for me, like I said to you, I was, at the time at Norwich, I had specialists saying to sort of pack it in, and that's at the time it was my ankle. They were saying that's the best it's going to be. So if you're still struggling, I couldn't walk properly. I was in pain every single day, and I was just not ready to stop. I'm still not ready to stop, by the way, but I was always going to continue to make sure that I was stopping. If I was going to stop, it was going to be on my own terms, and that I wasn't ready to stop playing. So the Walsall thing was amazing, just to get back out and play games, which I loved. And then I had a few things, like I was hoping to potentially get back to Gills, which would have been nice, but unfortunately that didn't happen.
Was that close at any point?
Not from my. Unfortunately, I was all for it. It was unfortunately the manager just didn't call me back. Unfortunately,
we was hoping for that, and then ended up.
I had a really good conversation with him, and he was like, "Yeah, definitely want to sign you," and then nothing. So it was disappointing, but that's football. I was then just like, I just in the end, I obviously found out we were going to have a second child, and I wasn't going to move then for anywhere. We had our base at home, and then I funny enough had a call from Martin Tyler, who I thought was going to offer me some sort of deal on Sky, and turns out he's the assistant manager at Woking, so I found myself going down there, and it was brilliant. It's a great club. I loved just getting back out onto the pitch and playing football, and as you said, I played a total of 60 minutes in 30 minutes in one game, 30 minutes in the other, and I got 1 goal and 2 assists. So not a bad start.
So again, for those of our families and stuff that might not know, Martin Tyler, legendary commentator in the game, known for some brilliant commentary moments, including that Aguero moment for City. Again, very involved at Woking, his local team. So him bringing you in there. What's the plan for you at the moment now? Then, if we get back to football, are you hoping to keep playing for Woking? Are you hoping to go into coaching? What's your next move?
Well, I still want to play football, so it's just a matter of when anything sort of happens, really. No one sort of knows what the script is just yet, but I'm keeping myself fit. I'm ready to go whenever I get a call. So it's just waiting and seeing and hoping that the season can potentially get started as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's what we're all hoping for as well. Right, so we'll move on to some questions from the kids. Some of our players at FC Lake County.
How do the best goalies stop you?
How does the best goalkeeper stop me? I think it's a bit of presence, it's a bit of agility, I suppose. A lot of mind tricks as well, because lots of people like to fake to go into the near post and go in the far, and vice versa. And goalkeepers, they can do that as well. They edge over to one side, and you think, I'll put it in that line, and they're ready to go back. But it's a lot of mind tricks. But goalkeepers they're different characters, I'd say. Everything that I've experienced, they're brilliant people, but their mindset are totally different to any outfield player.
Who was the most frustrating goalkeeper to play against for you? Like, who was the best and always seemed to have a good day against you?
I'll tell you who one was. It's Shay Given. I nearly scored an absolute worldie against Man City when he was there, and he just somehow just plucked it out of the top corner, and I can't believe it. But he was always one of them.
Awesome. Right, so one of the next questions we have from Gunnar.
What's the most beneficial thing I can do to make me a better soccer player?
There's no beating around the bush. You have to practice. It's not something that unless you're Lionel Messi, that you're sort of gifted with. You have to practice. So it's hard work, repetition, and just trying to improve the things that you're not so good at, and improve even more the things that you are good at. It's unfortunately it's a lot of hard work and practice.
So like we talked about earlier, your main strength was cutting inside, but again you worked on your left foot, getting better at going down the line.
Yeah, that's what I had to do. I mean, funny story, just when I was in the summer, on the off season, I used my mum and dad, my brother. We used to go over the park, and my dad used to put old fishing rods in the ground as poles. So I used to have my brother used to pass the ball out to me. I used to go in and out of the cones, or the fishing rods as they were, get to the byline, whip it in with my left foot, and then I had my brother and my dad running in to header them in, and my mum at the goal.
Excellent.
So,
there's literally no excuse.
Exactly.
Anyone can do it. Anyone can do it.
Yeah. So yeah.
Excellent. So the next question, Ben Rosales on my U8 boys team. Which goal in your career was your favourite, would you say?
Oh God. Difficult. I think a lot of quite a few have different sort of meanings. Like the Wolves volley against Villa it was a great goal, but it also off the back of that I got the England call up, and Capello said the goal was the icing on the cake. That's what got me in. Like he was borderline, and then the goal got me in. So that's meaning. But I mean, the Jules one, there's, like you said, the port foul. There's a Swansea one in that as well that I really liked. Or there's one when I was at Wolves against Wigan, right towards the end of the season. I cut inside and whipped it into the top corner. They're the ones.
They're the special ones, aren't they?
They're the special ones, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So next question.
During challenging games against better teams, how do you keep yourself motivated? How do you keep the team positive?
That's difficult unless, if you're like 4 or 5 down against the top teams. It's really difficult. But the biggest thing you need to do is to, making sure that you're doing the best that you possibly can, keeping yourself going, that every time you get the ball or you closing someone down, you're doing the best you possibly can. And then you drag your mate to do the same, and you get your other mate to do the same. It's especially in them really difficult games against the top sides, you've got to stay together as a team. You can't go individual because they're too good. They'll just play around you. So it's making sure that you do your job and then you pull the rest of the team through, which can be tough, but you've got to keep your mentality and keep your head, because otherwise if you do something silly and you get sent off, it makes it even worse for the rest of your team. So
yeah, for sure. All right, great point. I'll go on to, we've got a few questions here from Aaliyah.
What's your favorite move that you use a lot?
To be honest, I wasn't a massive skill person. I mean, I loved, if I was even better at them, I would still love just a step over and gone. Mine was always the shimmy. It was the fake to go right and drag it down the line. That's one that I love. So that's probably me.
What skill should I practice the most to become a better soccer player?
It depends on positions, really, because if you're a wide man, you've got to practice all sorts of change of directions and faking to shoot and cutting, and there's lots of things. If you're a midfielder, it's all about opening your body up and playing to one side and dragging the ball out and going the other side, because you've got to keep the game going. Defenders, there's all sorts of different ones. Maybe if you're a fullback, it's pretending to clip up the line and then coming inside. And then centre halves, you don't do tricks.
Yeah, just get it and lump it. Right.
Did you have a favorite team to play for, or what did you like most about each team you played for?
I wouldn't say favourite, because again, they all have they all have a story. Gillingham was. I loved every single club, but Gillingham, obviously, they gave me the opportunity. It's where I started. It's where I think I re-energized and got the confidence and sort of took off, really. Wolves was just an incredible development and incredible club, really, and they did wonders for my career. And then West Ham is just a huge club, and they gave me the opportunity to get myself back in the Premier League, and we finished 10th in our first season, 11th in the second, 13th or something in the third. It's just fantastic, and again, Norwich started so well. It's really a good family club. It just unfortunately just didn't work out for me. And I only had a really short spell at Walsall and Woking's, obviously it's a local club to me. So it's just, but it's very difficult. I think enjoyment wise, it's it's a tough one because I think enjoyment comes with winning something. And at Wolves, we won the championship by clear champions and blew the league apart. So I think that sort of year would probably be my most enjoyable as a player. But that's because you win stuff. So that's the only reason.
That's the aim for any team, isn't it? Really, you want to be successful.
Exactly.
All right, moving on to Miles Marzano, another player on my U8 team. Miles says he's got a few questions.
Hi, I'm Miles from the U8 Black, and I want to know, what's your favorite drill?
I think the best things if you do like rondos or boxes or something like that. You can't go wrong with that because there's a lot of skill that goes into it. But it's just good fun and a laugh with your group of friends, and getting the one in the middle to run around, and if you put the ball through their legs, it's even more fun.
For sure. It's good for learning possession and stuff at that age as well.
Definitely.
He's got another question.
Hi, I'm Miles from the U8 Black, and I want to know what you eat before games.
I used to be a really routine and have the same thing all the time, but the older I got, the less I did. But I have to say, like a big thing, I like eggs before a game, so I'd probably have like scrambled eggs on a bit of toast. And a controversial thing as well, I'd have like a piece of toast with some peanut butter, and then have some eggs with that. I mean, not many people like it, but I find it a nice, nice little winner.
How did it feel to be called up to the England national team in 2011?
Absolute dream come true. There's no sort of, I don't know how you can even describe the feeling. It's elation. It's just, really amazing experience.
Just every little boy's dream come true, I guess. Brett McCabe.
What do you do to mentally prepare yourself for a big game?
When I first went to Wolves, it was the first club that I actually came across. We had like a sports psychologist that come in, and the night before a game, if it was an away game, he would go and have like a relaxation, it was called, and so it gets your mind ready for the game, and then you'd start drilling your mind on how you would I took corners, I took free kicks, so I'd be like pretending to be walking up and putting feeling the crowd around me in the corner, and pretending to put the cross in or put the corner in, and just visualizing a lot of things. So that would be a part of it, but generally it's all about, I think, you get into a routines, which is it's boring, but you get into a routine, you get up the same sort of time, you go for a walk within the team at the same time, you have a meeting at the same time, you have food at the same time. Everything's just drilled routine. And then a lot of people have superstitions. They put certain things on at certain times, certain boots on first. I only ever really had, it wasn't a superstition, but I did it every game. I used to always try. I say try because a few people like to do the same things. I used to like coming out last, and I'd always wait until I got right to the door to put my shirt on. Yeah,
I've seen a few professional players that have done that as well. I mean, I remember Ronaldo always used to like coming out last. A few like to touch the white line as they cross it, things like that.
Yeah, a few do jumps, a few do all sorts of things. But I only really had them. Always used to try and come out last if I could, and then put my shirt on just before I went out.
Who was your favorite player growing up?
I had two. Totally different players. I had Gary Lineker, because at the time I just got the VHS of 48 goals for England, and then the other one was Ryan Giggs. And obviously I was very fortunate that I played against him numerous times as well. So it was just growing up, he was my sort of idol. He was one I looked at. Similar positions. I would say similar type of players, but I don't know.
I mean, you both played on the left. I mean, closely. But he was, again, massive legend in the game. Premier League, made over 800 appearances.
And it's just the way that he adapted his game, and he stayed at the top for 20 years or whatever it was. It's just incredible.
If you were to 1v1 any player, past or present, who would you like to challenge? Bye.
Just because I'm a left winger and I'd be a right back, I think I'd probably go someone like Cafu.
Yeah.
That would be
an
quite
interesting
special.
battle for sure.
I wouldn't want to fancy Roberto Carlos just because his thighs would probably boot me over the side. But yeah, someone like Cafu, I think, would be quite cool.
What should a young winger work on to be successful at a higher level?
It's always getting yourself a yard to put a cross in, because that's the hardest thing is being able to shift the ball or just getting yourself a yard to put a cross in. And then there's always obviously putting a good cross in, but you don't necessarily have to pick someone out. You have to put it in certain areas. I think that's the biggest thing to work on. You've basically got 3 crosses. You've got if you get to the byline and you're close to the line, you dink it to the far post. If you're on the run and you're not quite getting to line, you've got the low cross that goes behind all of the defenders, or you've got the cutback, which if you're running out of room or anything, you've got that cut back to the penalty spot. So if you can practice them 3, you're doing well.
Excellent. So yeah, just varying up your deliveries and stuff like that.
Yeah. We're trying to get a yard to put the cross in, and then using your both feet to practice them crosses, because that's where the goals are scored.
Hi, my name is Alvaro, and I don't know if you have played against different European teams, but if you have you seen any differences in different European leagues like the Premier League and La Liga and Bundesliga?
Well, I can't say I've played in the others, but I'd say like for instance, the biggest difference between the Championship and the Premier League is in the Premier League you get more time on the ball, but it's harder to do anything with. Whereas in the Championship you get less time on the ball, but it's easier to do something with. I think that's like the easiest way to describe the Championship and the Premier League. The foreign leagues, I think it's a different style of play. I think a lot of the foreign leagues are all possession-based. There's a few clubs in the Premier League that are possession-based clubs, but it's all about keeping the ball, small passes, and you build like that. Whereas you can, in the Premier League, you mix it up, and you've got a lot of teams that have got a lot of firepower, a lot of strength, a lot of pace, and that's not always Man City are a huge thing of dominance of possession plays, but they're totally different to other possession-based teams. They just completely wrap all up the pitch and they get everything back as quickly as they can. Whereas a lot of teams, if they're possession-based, they keep it as soon as they lose ball, then they just retreat and then they get the ball back and start again.
There we go. We'll finish on this one. Charlie Ropka on the U12 Black team. How do you deal with stress?
That's a very good question. I can't say as a young kid playing football, apart from the Millwall days, I had that much stress about playing football. It's only when you then get to sort of a certain level and people then, so like as a kid, you just got no fear. You go out every week and play and play and play, and it doesn't matter if you do anything well or bad. You just keep going because you've got no fear. It's when that sort of fear sets in, and then it's about keeping your confidence of, like, especially for me, because I'm a wide player, I'm expected, that's my role in the team, to actually provide opportunities and take players on, and that's a confidence thing. So it's then working out what I used to look at before the game. I used to look at clips of me doing things well, like going past the player, putting a good cross in, so you get yourself in a good frame of mind to go and replicate that in games. So it's a huge confidence thing, which, everyone goes, oh, you should be confident, you're playing in the Premier League. Well, it's not that simple. You've got to be able to deal with that, because if you're in a team that's not necessarily winning every week, it's hard to replicate that confidence. So that's the biggest thing I would say for stress is talking. I mean, I'm very fortunate that my family, well, maybe not. So it's my wife is she's a very good sort of talker and gets me to talk about everything. So it's like a bit of therapy. But that helps. I think definitely. I think that's helped me a lot over the years.
That's excellent. So just to finish up, if you could just summarise and talk to our if you could talk to our young players. We've got players all the way from U7, U8 all the way up to high school ages like U16, U17. What would you say to them just as a final note for them to learn something from you as a professional? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is never give up. You've always, footballs are based on a lot of people's opinions, so you never know who's watching, and you always got to give everything in every single game, and you've got to keep learning. You've got to keep working hard. Some people tell you to do certain things, and you've got to try and do that to the best as you possibly can. And when you get criticised, it's sometimes it's not personal at all. You just got to be able to learn to adapt and to do other things. Get other strings to your bow. I think there's even now I still learn and have to adapt my game, and you just got to keep working hard and making sure that you believe in yourself, which is hard to do at times, but you've got to make sure you keep going, keep working hard. And for me, my biggest thing is if everything's going sort of wrong, I go back to basics and I just go, right, I'm going to work as hard as I can. I'm going to run around as hard as I can, and then start to then get everything back to normal. So that's my biggest thing, I'd say. Although I did get some amazing advice from a certain Michael Gray who went to Wolves at the end, sort of at the end-ish of his career, and he was his big advice to me was, Jarvo, run fast, score goals. And that was it.
Keep it simple.
And that was it. Yeah.
Keep it simple. Well, that's a brilliant piece of advice. Just again, a big thank you to you for your time and passing on your knowledge to our younger players. I'm sure they're all going to appreciate this and watch this and, take a lot from it. Again, me as a Jules fan, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, one of my childhood heroes.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I would have loved to come back to Jules. I was ashamed it didn't happen, but
that would have been a dream for all of us.
Loved my time.
All right, all the best, Jarvo. Wish you every possible success with the rest of your career, what you do next. And
thank you.
Always going to be keeping a keen eye on you. So thanks for your time, mate. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.